What is happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're keeping very well. Welcome back to one of these weekly podcasts every Monday night live on YouTube. It should be a good one tonight as we review the final game, which ended in a win for Spurs. 3-0 win, in fact, so we'll be reviewing it and the season as well. I'm joined by a fantastic panel. Got a few of them with me now. Firstly, Billy, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, man. Very good. Nice little end to the season for a lot of different reasons yesterday. One of them being Tottenham, the other one being Man City. So, yeah, good. Happy days.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely go on to that. But it was a good day all round. Spurs getting, guaranteed Europa League, and also, Arsenal not winning the title ultimately. Wheelsy, welcome back on. How you doing?
Thank you for having me, mate. I'm very good. Like Billy said, very good result yesterday, both Man City and Spurs. And may I just add on a personal note, well done, Harry, for reaching 2K subs. You're smashing it on the YouTube scene, and I'm expecting a lot more from you. So keep going, mate.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. We'll get into that achievement shortly. Also, welcome you onto the panel. Firstly, Justin, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, but thank you so much. Apologies for the delay. I was having a few technical
No worries.
issues, but I am here ready to talk about not a bad weekend, to be fair. A lot of positives for us and for City. So yeah, can't argue about that.
No, absolutely. You can't complain. I think overall, a very good weekend. Also, welcoming on, last but not least, Travis. How you doing, mate?
Happening, fellas, you all right? Yeah, great weekend of football, to be fair, wasn't it? Really, really happy from both ends of the table. Obviously, the little team down the road didn't complete their what they honestly thought they were going to win. So, yeah, long may it continue. It can happen to a nicer club.
Very, very true. Before we get to today's show, if you are new, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Wheelsy mentioned it there, 2K. So thank you very much again for that. It's the first show we've done since hitting 2,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for that. If you're listening on a podcast platform as well, don't forget to give us a follow and a 5-star review, and also follow all these guests here. But let's crack straight into it. And Billy, I was thinking back before the Sheffield United thoughts on the lineup. We saw Van der Ven remain at left back. We saw Kulusevski come in for Højbjerg, get a bit of attacking change in that respect. Any surprises for you?
Not really. I think the way that the team played against Man City, which is a bone of contention in itself, but was one of our better performances of the last 5 or 6 games. So I was happy to see it again. And I think Dragusin and the centre back looked really good yesterday again. So it's a nice little end to the season. And it seems like Ange has been tinkering in the last 2 games. Some people might say, he could have done that a bit earlier, maybe in the Chelsea game, might have seen a couple of different results. But yeah, I'm just, it's a really good end to going into next season that we know it can be a bit more flexible. And it looks like Maddison on the left, Kulusevski in the middle could be a way forward. So it's interesting to see what happens next year.
Absolutely, yeah. Keep your eyes on that. We'll get on to Kulusevski a bit later as we go further into the game. I think it's an individual that should be discussed. Wheelsy, I'll come to you next. Any surprises with that Spurs lineup? Anything you wanted to see in particular?
To be honest, I don't think there was much of a surprise. I think all of the players played as they should have, It was good to see Kulusevski going back to form again with them 2 goals. Van der Ven played very well at left back. Again, Dragusin very well at centre back. I think then 3 working together, Romero, Dragusin and Van der Ven, they work very well as a 3, and I'm expecting to see a lot more from them going into next season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And Travis, I'll come to you next on your line. Is there anything you wanted to see different? Did you want to see, I don't know, maybe Mikey Moorstar or Scarlett, someone be given minutes considering it was Sheffield United?
Yeah, I mean, the start 11 should have been slightly different, if you ask me. But then again, it is Tottenham Hotspur, and obviously, Sheffield United, the sort of team that we would go and lose against on the last game of the season. So I'm kind of glad that he did put out the team that he did. I'm really happy that he started Radu Dragusin. I've been waiting to see him all season. The 2 games that he's played, he's been absolutely solid. So hopefully he gets a bit more of a run next year. I mean, Mickey Van der Ven, I'm sure you lot will all agree. What a player he is. Absolutely phenomenal. He's a no-nonsense defender. Yeah, and I think Emerson Royale, I think he'll be off soon. I think Inter Milan might want him, so hopefully he'll go there. I can see Jay, fingers crossed there. Yeah, you and me both, mate. Yeah, I don't dislike him as much as what I dislike Eric Dyer. I mean, I don't think anything will really beat that, but but yeah, you know, hopefully, I think next year is going to be a big year for us anyway. And I think, you know, the youth that we've got and coming through the ranks, you know, Will Lancashire, Mikey Moore, people like that. Hopefully, get a bit more of a run out next year. I mean, you know, our development isn't bad. I think we've got quite a good development squad. So yeah, hopefully get a bit more of a chance next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Travis. You had to mention Eric Dyer, though. You can't go a show without mentioning Eric Dyer. And I've actually got a statistic for you here because I was that convinced that you talk about Eric Dyer a lot. So I went back ever since you joined the show, and there hasn't been one show where you haven't mentioned his name. So I was thinking maybe tonight, if I don't let him know, this might be the first show, but 6 minutes in, and Travis is already blowing that. Wow, there we go. Love it. Justin, I'll come to you. What were your thoughts on that Spurs lineup? Because me personally, I did expect to see more Donnelly start, but I was hoping that they would, but I didn't expect it. I don't know about you.
What I am going to do for Travis is if Eric Dyer ever does a cameo, I think we've got to all chip in and get him a cameo from Eric Dyer to say that we appreciate how much love you have for me and I love you just as much. Something like that. You know, I think I just made Travis's day, that would. To be fair, the starting lineup, I wasn't surprised. I kind of thought, you know, when you looked at it, it was kind of what he was going to go with. I think when we saw the success that we'd had with that back four, you know, particularly against City, okay, we lost the game, but they looked promising as a four. I don't think there was ever going to be a shout that Royal was going to come in. I mean, for the games he came in, he showed that he's not up for the Premier League, and the fact now that we seem to have this bidding war for him, which I'm not really sure how that's even possible. You know, but obviously Bayern want him, so obviously next year you know, I think we've just got to go to Bayern and say, look, this is a list of players we don't want. Do you want to take them all and start with them? You know, maybe see if they want Christian Gross as a manager. Who knows where they go with that? But to me, I looked at that and I thought that was the team that I expected for us to start. The only disappointing thing I felt was once it was 3-0. Bring people on earlier. What? There was no benefit to me of bringing on Skip, bringing on Højbjerg, bringing on Emerson. No, they don't. If they're not part, the frustrating thing was if they've not got a future at the club, what benefit does it be? Nobody's going to sit there and watch that 20 minutes and go, my God, we've got to sign these players now. That is how good they actually have been. Why would they want to let them go? You know, at that point, it's a case of, you know, we've already put them to the scrap heap. Just turn around, let them go, bring on, you know, Donnelly and bring on Scarlett and bring on Moore earlier. Once it's 3-0, game's done. Sheffield United are not coming back from that. Let the kids have a run out so that they can actually experience some proper Premier League football rather than this debacle that they've now got to go where it's all the way off to Australia and then come all the way back to play an under-21s final. That to me is purely done for money making more than anything else. So it is crazy. But overall, starting lineup was right, got the job done. On to next season.
Absolutely, on to next season. That's certainly how I look at it when we get towards the end of the show. Wheelsy, I'll come back to you actually. I want to get your thoughts on the first goal of the game, and that was scored in the end by Kulusevski, but Van der Ven nicked the ball back. It was a nice goal by Kulusevski, right? But it was against the run of play based on what we've seen in those 14 minutes, right? Yeah,
it was a very nice goal. As I said before, it was a long time coming from him. Everyone that I spoke to on Twitter said that, he's definitely going to score today because it's been long overdue, and he did score too. So I think it was a very nice team goal, and we got the result we needed. So no complaints there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Billy, how much did Kulusevski need that goal?
Yeah, he needed it a lot, and I think there's a couple of players yesterday, like Dragusin is one and Kulusevski is another. I think just that one little game, I know it's Sheffield United, so there's not a lot you can read into it, but just a little bit of a confidence boost going into pre-season would be massive, particularly for Dragusin, because if he hadn't started those last two games, I think he would have been going into pre-season probably questioned himself whether he made the right move or not, but hopefully that's given him a bit of good feeling. And Kulusevski as well. He's probably not had his best season. He'll probably admit that himself. He's been a bit deployed all over the shop, and I think he looked really good yesterday again. And he finally shot again because he's been, when he was under Conte, he was shooting all the time, and he's kind of left that out of his game this season. So it was good to see him get 2 goals again. And I think he was playing as a false 9 yesterday a bit. So it's not something we've seen from him before at Tottenham. So yeah, it's interesting for sure. But I think it'll be massive for his confidence because he's such a confidence player.
Yeah, absolutely he is. We have quite a few of them at Spurs, and he's certainly one of them. I absolutely agree with you on that. Billy, Travis, I'll come to you next. What do you make of the Kulusevski goal? The opening goal in the game to break the deadlock. But also for you, what have you made of his season?
The thing with Kula, and I think a lot of teams are kind of sussed out, is he's such a predictable player. He loves to cut in on his left. And I think he is only one-footed, but I think confidence-wise, and I know he had a little speech a little while ago about his confidence within football and stuff like that. I think it's given him a massive kick. I think, and I would see him score yesterday. I've always rated Kulusevski. I've always thought he's been one of the best players we've had for a long time, alongside Rodrigo Bentancur. But yeah, long may it continue. He's a goal scorer, and of course, you're confident it's going to not be as great as when you're not scoring goals, and that's pretty goes for every footballer. But he's got a lot of potential, and he hasn't been great this season, no. But obviously, he's had competition. Obviously, with James Maddison coming in, obviously before Maddison was there, that he was, he wasn't getting as much time as what he should have been. But unfortunately, that's the way football goes. But yeah, I'd love him to stay at Spurs, and I think I rate him highly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Justin, we'll move on to you next because I want to get your thoughts, Kulusevski. Not necessarily about the goal, but overall, your thoughts on his season. And does he have a best position for you? If so, what is it?
Oh, blimey! It's such a difficult one because I think the issue is obviously he's a young player, and I think the one thing that he has got in his favour is the versatility. We saw him playing, almost centrally with Maddison, and obviously he's popped up with 2 goals. But then we've seen him on the right being absolutely sensational. But then again, also with that, we've seen it as Travis rightly pointed out, he can be quite predictable in terms of he's not going to cross from there, he's going to cut in. And I don't think unless he has an electric pre-season and goes on from there, I don't think he's going to be first choice. I think, though, what he does do is he improves what we haven't had, which is a backup in terms of squad depth. I think what we obviously need to see is the fact of a big name coming in, whether it be an Eze or an Elise or somebody of that sort of ilk coming in that is really going to dominate. But bearing in mind how many more games we're going to have, I mean, we've got at least, I think it's 8 minimum with the Europa League based on the new format. So that is going to be an opportunity for Kulusevski to play those games and give others a break. But I do feel that he's that level below. When he first came in, I thought he was really going to take off and be something absolutely special. But I think he has faltered. He has shown signs of brilliance, but it's that lack of consistency for me that I think makes it why he's not going to be a top player. He's going to be a top player, but I think he's somebody that Tottenham, in theory, should be using, for either the cup games or the European games, or bringing him off the bench to make a difference and go and get a star player who is going to make a big difference up there with Johnson, and then a number 9, whoever they actually decide to go and get.
Okay, thank you very much. Billy, I'll come back to you actually. Because I want to get your thoughts, Billy, on let's say the first half in general. So 1-0 up at half time. Was it a case of, we didn't start fantastically, but as soon as we got the goal, we were in total control?
Yeah, I think so. I thought he started really poorly, actually. First 10, 15, Sheffield were all over us. And as soon as we got the goal, it was all right. And second half, there was no trouble. Was it? As easy as you're going to get in Premier League game. So it was a good chance to make a couple of subs. I think Obviously, I joke a lot about Emerson Royale, but I think it was nice and respectful from Aaron to give Rubio and Emerson Royale like another little run out and then get the young players on as well. So, yeah, it's pretty much as perfect end of game you can imagine. It went really smoothly in the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wheelsy, what do you make of the first half as well? Because, I'm with Billy in terms of I don't think we started strong, but the goal really helped us.
Yeah, like I agree with everything being said. 1-0 half-time is good by any standard, but Sheffield United, you've seen teams like Newcastle pummel them 8-0 full time. We should be on that sort of level. Okay, maybe not 8-0, but maybe a bit more than that. But I still think we played all right. We could have played better, of course, but a clean sheet, we don't get many of those. So I think we did pretty well in that department. So
yeah, no, fair enough, absolutely. And before we move on, Travis, what did you make of that first half? Because East Sheffield United, they are relegated. Is it what you expected in terms of we'd get the first goal and push on from there?
Never. I think we are very, and I mean this in the most respectful way, but we are one of the most slowest teams in the Prem in the first half to get in the game to where it should be. And I think we kind of take the smaller teams as such for granted, and it's always the smaller teams where we slip up. I mean, trying to see us get going is painful to watch sometimes. With the quality that we've got on the pitch, especially against a team that's just been relegated, it's painful to watch. I mean, as Wheelsy said, Newcastle pulled them 8-0. Well, that's where we should be. But I don't know. It's just painful watching us get going. We're always better in the second half. But it's not where it should be at the moment, and I don't know what it's going to take for us to be at that standard. I mean, I would have taken fifth at the start of the season. Obviously, with Harry Kane leaving and Ange coming in, well, none of us even knew anything about Ange Postecoglou to an extent. But yeah. I mean, I give the guy his due, and I think he's been absolutely superb. And I think he gets the club to a T. He knows what he wants to do. He's passionate, and he's probably the best manager I've ever seen in my time. I mean, I've supported Tottenham for 32 years. My dad's, in his late 60s now. I used to go and watch him, and he said to me, Travis, he's one of the best managers we've ever had. And people slated him on Twitter, Ange out, blah blah blah. He's got a lot to work with. He's got a lot to work with to get to where we need to get to. But I think next year's going to be a big year for us.
I hope so. We will get onto that a little bit later. An interesting answer to what do you make of the first half, but I really do appreciate your thoughts.
Sorry,
Thinking behind it. No, you're completely fine.
Sorry, I do waffle.
I love your answers sometimes.
I get a bit carried away. Say things I shouldn't be saying at the moment in time. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. No, it's completely fine. I'd love to get your thoughts. You create like a leeway if you like a little tangent for later. So we'll definitely come on to it. So it should be quite exciting. Justin, we'll move on to you. Second goal, 59th minute for Spurs. Porro with a powerful strike. A couple of people tried to score. It was a bit scruffy. Few deflected shots, block shots. Also your thoughts on the goal in general, the strike from Porro, but also how well did Son do to start that move?
Yeah, I mean, it was reminiscent of the Maddison turn at Arsenal, really, where he's just left him for dead and what have you. Got into a beautiful position. And then just tried to, take the shot on. And obviously we've seen Maddison try to take the shot on. I think the bit that I liked more than anything else was the relentless nature of it. Even, when the save was made, Johnson doesn't give it up. He puts it on a plate, probably knowing what Porro was going to do at that point. There wasn't, Porro, we've seen time and time again that, if Porro's in a position, he's going to go and he's going to put his foot through it, and he did, and rightly so, because when he let go, I mean, I was struggling to even see where the ball went. All I saw was everybody celebrating, and I thought, oh, it must have gone in, because it just looked like the ball had just vanished. He just walloped it so hard, I couldn't even see it. So it was a cracking strike from somebody that I think we've got to take a lot of credit to, because when he first came in, He was awful. He'd coming into a very difficult situation where Conte had gone. He was then with Stellini, then with Mason. He's now got Ange that he's working with, and I feel that he's become more stable. And I think we're going to see a player who is going to get better and better. And I think that's the one thing I would say. We talked about Kulusevski and has he hit his limit? I don't think Porro has. I think this is a guy who has got a lot of potential, very young, really buys. And one thing I do love is his passion for the club. You see it, when he's going for the badge and everything else like that. And people say, oh, they do that all the time. But he's very clear. He still follows Sporting Lisbon when you see from his following and things like that. So, he was at City at one point, doesn't say anything about City or anything like that. He talks about Sporting Lisbon, he talks about Tottenham. So he really buys into what Ange is doing, what the club is trying to become. And hopefully that will breed more and more success going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, nicely put. And Wheelsy, I'll come to you again. That goal from Porro, what do you make of it? And again, the same question I asked Justin: how important was Son's contribution, if you like, in the goal? Because for me, I looked at that and went, "That's Son back at his best."
Well, we all know that Porro has that in his department. He can whip those in any time, and from that angle as well, it was not all footballers can pull that off. I just thought it was a really good goal. And again, as you said, Son was a very good playmaker in the making of that goal. Obviously, he tried to curve it in, and it was saved. And I saw something on Twitter, people saying that Fotheringham, against Spurs, he plays like prime Manuel Neuer, or like the best goalkeeper in the world. But for someone that conceded 104 goals, it was, he always shows up against Spurs, and that was again our problem last night.
It certainly was, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Travis, your thoughts on Porro's goal? And as Justin said, Wheelsy said, does he always have it in him, that strike from Porro? How much do we need that?
We need it massively, and I think he needs to be pushed forward to a midfield position. I think he's quick, he's skillful, and he's got a wonder of a right foot. Obviously, he scored the absolute screamer against Burnley in the cup, and obviously he's done that. He started off quite slow, I think, Porro, and I know people were having an arm about him, but I think he's thriving. I think he's just he's a great player and great striker of the ball. I mean, when I say I think he should be pushed forward to a midfield position, I know he's got competition there, but he's got the pace and he's got the trickery and everything else that a midfielder needs.
Sorry to interrupt, but when you say midfield position, do you mean like in terms of the midfield three, or like right winger in terms of Johnson, Kulusevski's type of position? Because I can see that happening.
Yeah, like a right wing back, if you like. Just playing behind Johnson. I mean, I think Johnson's okay. I know people got their own opinions on Johnson, but I don't think he's been particularly great this season for the amount we paid for him. And I think Porro could potentially play in that position.
Okay, no, fair enough. Actually, again, before we do move on, Billy, I want to get your thoughts on that. Can Porro play further forward, if you like? If we fail to bring in, the players in the summer and Ange decides that Johnson and Kulusevski aren't quite right, for what he wants to achieve that season, can Porro do it?
Yeah, I think he could. And again, I think with the Europa League, we're going to be able to experiment a bit more, because we've had 38 Premier League games and then 3 cup games this season. We haven't had any sort of chance where we can try things like that out. So, and if we're thinking about Porro's game, he's a much more offensive player than he is a defensive right back, which is why I think he's had a great season and playing inverted, because an Ange fullback plays so far forward anyway that I think it plays for strength. So yeah, I could definitely see that role happening. Yeah,
no, absolutely, and so can I. So I'm in full agreement with that. Wheelsy, we'll come back to you for the third goal. 65th minute. It's Kulusevski again. He's second of the game. For me, I looked at that and went, that's a really nice team move. And I haven't seen that for a long while. Are you in agreement?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. And I did see an angle of Johnson or Van der Ven trying to get to the line of the goal and try and tap it in. But it was a well-deserved goal. Played well all the second half. and it was like well credited to him, you know, because he hasn't had like form like that for a while, and it was a good goal, very good goal.
Okay. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Justin, I'll come to you on that third goal. Yeah, I'll come to you, Justin. That third goal, the team move. I think it was a really good team move. When was the last time do you think you've seen that kind of move where you go that the whole team's almost involved? For me, it's been a little while.
I think the thing that I found quite, sort of surprising was how much they enjoyed it. You could see the movement, the freedom. It was almost like it had just been it's almost like we'd gone back in time and we were back when it was those first 10 games again, and the players just seemed to completely relax and enjoy themselves. And I was really shocked because I sat there and I thought, and I know people were disappointed with the first 10-15 minutes, but not everybody, we're nowhere near the levels of Man City or Arsenal, Liverpool, things like that. So I think once we'd got our stride in, we'd got more and more comfortable, and that final goal just summed it up. It was just class from start to finish. And the only thing I think that I wish was that we'd been more devastating. I can't remember who it was. I think it might be Wheelsy who said it, where we'd seen other clubs put 7 or 8 against this team, and we could have done the same. It was the last day of the season. Once we'd gotten 2-0 up, I felt we could have really, really pushed it on. If we weren't going to get those subs on earlier, let's just go out there. Let's go and have some fun. Let's go put 4, 5, 6 goals and show this Premier League that actually we've got flashes of this isn't just a flash in the pan. We are going to be this team, and we are going to take it. We're going to be much better come next season.
Yeah, that's what you do. I think if you're serious, absolutely, you put a lot past them. They're relegated. But for me, I looked at that. I don't want to try and be too negative here, but before we got the first goal, for me, they had 2 big chances, and I thought, that's anyone in the top half, they probably go in, and we find ourselves at least 1, if not 2, behind. And I think that is ultimately the reality. We're not there to compete, with the top teams at the moment. There's a big distance, and we took advantage of Sheffield United and made a mistake, and I like that. But overall, it wasn't. Although it was a dominant performance, it wasn't like, wow, it wasn't like what I call a statement performance. So you go out to the league and prove a point against the relegated side. But hopefully that will come over time. Travis, talk to me about that third goal, again scored by Kulusevski. You mentioned his name a lot. What did you make of the goal, Travis?
Yeah, again, he's a proven goal scorer. I was hoping, obviously, he'd get his hat trick, and I'm sure a lot of other Tottenham supporters were as well. But yeah, given his quality, I think he's more suited in a number 10 role, and maybe try and play Maddison out of the wing, as I think someone said earlier. But yeah, it's great to see him score, and he's a given goal scorer, and we know he can score goals. And I think it'll do his confidence a world of good. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, I want to come back to you actually, because you raised the point, and I think you're spot on in terms of should Mikey Moore and the likes of Jamie Donnelly, Scarlett got more minutes. Obviously, Mikey Moore got a few at the end. There's quite, I think 7, 8 minutes of added time in the end, so he did get quite a few. For you, would you be making those changes? For me, as soon as it goes 2-0, I would have brought them on. What about yourself?
Absolutely. Not being funny, that people can say about, are they, their age and things like that. Well, we see this with other clubs where they bring them on and things like that. And, to me, I look at it, if these players are apparently good enough to go halfway around the world to Australia, but they can't start, well, they're not so much start, but come on through. Because not being funny, the moment that third goal goes in from Kulusevski, all 3 should have been on the pitch at that point, because you're not, that is really important. And it's one of the things that I remember that Mason did. I think was it George Abbott, and Matthew Craig he brought on. I think it was against Leeds, wasn't it? He brought them on, and gave them a few minutes, and you just sort of looked at it, and I thought at 88 minutes when Dane Scarlett comes on, he's not really going to do much, Jamie Donnelly didn't even come on at all. You just feel, if these are players you're going to integrate, particularly going into next season, they they really do deserve more than that. That was my feeling of it. The game's gone, you know. Even if we have a collapse, we're still going to get the point. There was no way Sheffield United were going to go and get 4 goals. So to me, I just felt you could have slowly brought those players on, because the other substitutions that were made outside of that were Højbjerg, Skip and Royal. Well, are we building a future around them, or are we looking to build a future around Moore, Scarlett and Donnelly? And that to me is where the difference was. The first 3 substitutions was more the old guard, and then the last 2 were more the new guard. And I just felt you should have really done that the other way round, to be honest. The game was done. We could have given them a run out and actually really have showed what the future holds, and actually do something we don't do that well, which is really bring through young talent properly.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that, Justin. Again, I mean, I completely agree with you, and I did say that at the time, didn't necessarily go down well, but I think I do stand by that. I get why they don't start, in terms of we've seen Spurs, look, Fulham second round of the League Cup, the second team isn't strong enough. And obviously they didn't necessarily feature in the game, but when we rest players, it doesn't tend to go down well. But 2-0 against this Sheffield United side who don't have a goal in them, the game is done. Ring the changes. I think that Moore should have at least found himself to have half an hour or so minimum. So it didn't happen. That's the way it is. But Billy, I want to get your thoughts on it, because you said it's nice to see Emerson, etc. Should they both have got more minutes for you?
Yeah, I don't see why not. If you're going to do it, and this, like as I was just saying, if there's any game we're going to do, it has to be this one. But I guess they'll just be delighted to get another. Mike was 17, so it'll just be delighted to be on a Premier League pitch at that point. I think Scarlett, it's a tricky one because we've got a lot of strikers who have him at the moment, Richarlison and Son. So you have to kind of question what his overall role is going to be at Tottenham in the future, because he's got a ground to make up on those 2 players in particular, especially if we get another striker this year. It'll be difficult to see him getting many minutes, I think. So I think they'll just be happy to get on the pitch, but it would have been nice to see a bit more of them, because our youth teams have been excellent this year. And I think you've seen a bit of an upturn in fans going to see them, because everyone's sort of getting behind the whole thing. And they've been pretty good at every single level. So I think we're going to see a lot more of it in the future, hopefully. And I think we're going to have the Europa League, which would make a big difference in that front.
Absolutely. And Wheelsy, do you think they both should have got more minutes? And as Billy said, do you think they will? With the Europa League next season, hopefully us progressing in competitions, they that opportunity to trial things.
Yeah, no, like it's been mentioned before, we have a minimum of 8 games to be played more than what we had this season. So there'll be a lot of room for improvement, lots of experiments, trying players in different positions. And I think Emerson should have been given some minutes, but I don't think he's the best player in the position that he plays in compared to others we have, like Porro and others. But he should have at least got some minutes at the end, just like the others did.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. And Travis, do you want to see the youth get more minutes? And do you think we see that next season? Anyone as well excite you in that youth academy? Yeah, Mikey Moore, Jamie Donnelly, anyone in particular? You're on mute.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, I think Jamie Donnelly is definitely one that stands out, and I think I've been watching that Will Lancashire quite a bit as well, and he looks really, really good. I've been watching a lot of his cameos on YouTube, and he does look very, very good. I'd like to see him in the Europa League, but again, that just depends on how far we get in that competition. We could start off really good, we could start off really bad. You never know with Spurs. But yeah, if we get to a good stage and Ange feels like he can bring the academy out, then yeah, I'm all. I think Dane Scarlett should get a bit more of a run out. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. We just have to wait and see how it unfolds. So hopefully you want to see that. Obviously not, and I've got to be careful because I'm someone who really wants to see the youth, but at the same time, we see that second round of the League Cup, and I don't necessarily think that it was youth; it was resting too many players. So we have to take those competitions seriously. We haven't won a major trophy since 2008. I don't like to keep mentioning it, but we haven't, and so that's all for the reason to treat Cup seriously. I generally do believe, and I'm not pulling anyone's leg here, but I think if we do treat it seriously, we bring the right players and the right depth in the summer, I don't see why we can't challenge for Europa League. I'm not sitting here saying we're going to win it, or we will win it, or can win it, but if we treat it seriously, we can progress and compete to the latter stages and talking quarterfinal, semi-final, and even the final. I think that's well within our reach. But back on to Sheffield United, and Wheelsy, I'll come to you. Ended 3-0 Spurs. A good end to the season for you. A clean sheet as well. When have we been able to say that? I forgot what it feels like.
Yeah, I saw a stat, I think, yesterday where it said we only had like 2 clean sheets in 27 matches or something like that, which is bizarre for a team like us. But it was a very emphatic win. Maybe we should have got some more goals considering the talent that we have in the squad. But overall, I was happy with it. No complaints.
No, absolutely. Fair enough. Billy, for you happy to get the clean sheet? Obviously, the end of the season, we wanted 5th place secured.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's actually interesting that Dragusin is, I think he's much more of a natural defender than Romero and Mickey van der Ven, who are 2 brilliant players with the ball, especially. But he does a lot of the sort of dirty work that, they're sort of Van der Ven and Romero are a bit more modern centre backs where they can do a lot. They can do a lot offensively and pass the ball and things like that. Dragusin's just like a no-nonsense defender. And I think the way that he was clearing corners and things, which is what we've been missing all season. So I think it'll be really big. So he can be a really big player for us next year. So I don't think he's going to start many Premier League games because he's got 2 really, really good centre backs in front of him. But in those games where we need someone who's a bit no nonsense, I think he's going to be really important. And we saw it a bit yesterday because he was actually clearing corners, which we haven't seen all season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, was at the end of the season, we all wanted in terms of a win, a clean sheet, Europa League secured. Not perfect, could have been a lot better, could have sold youth, could have won the game by more, but it's a win, it's a clean sheet. That's what we wanted.
I think to be brutally honest, we're picking holes really when we talk about the other things. At the end of the day, we know how important it is that we are in Europe. Yeah, okay, we'd like to have, the club would have liked to have been in the Champions League. Myself personally, I wasn't bothered if it was Europa League or the Conference League. To me, it's a trophy's a trophy. It doesn't really matter which one it is. It's so I wasn't bothered by either one that we were going to be in. But I think one of the things I do like now is the fact that we don't have to worry about the Champions League teams coming down. So I sort of look at that and I feel, well, actually, we got the job done, good result. Now what we need to see is the club do their bit. Back and get this deadwood out the door. Maybe not all of it, but it's got to be a fair chunk of got to leave. We've started to see it already. So all I would say is that, if we can get some more out the door, get some money in for them and get some big names in, maybe we could see something really special next year. But how many times have we said that?
I don't even say it anymore. Said it far too many times. Now moving on to individuals themselves. Travis, I'll start with you. Firstly, James Maddison. What have you made of his season? And has he looked a bit, more like himself the last couple of games? For me, I've definitely seen that.
Yeah, I think, when we signed him, he come in and I think he hit the road running, really. I think he was absolutely phenomenal. And I think he's been a player we've been looking at for years and years and years, and we've obviously finally got him. He's a set piece. He's very good at set pieces, his free kicks, his corners. But I think, he had his injury, and I don't think he's been as confident or really the same player ever since he come back from his injury. But I thought he was pretty good against Sheffield United. And yeah, it's just another player that I'm glad we've got, and I think he's going to thrive under Ange. He loves being at Spurs. So yeah, I've always rated James Maddison anyway, even when he was at Leicester. I don't think he's a bad player. I just think his injury just knocked him a little bit. But yeah, I think he's a brilliant signing, and I was really happy that we got him.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I completely agree. Billy, you're nodding for large parts of that. Are you in agreement in terms of James Maddison and the overall player? Had dips, but we see more like the James Maddison we used to in the last couple of games.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of it can be put down to the injury, which really knocked his season off the rails. It's taken him a long time to get over it. as a serious injury can do for any player. And if a team like Tottenham, we need players like James Maddison that can score goals, create goals, pass like he can. So yeah, I'm always in favour of players like that at Tottenham. We need as much of them as we can get, and yeah, I think we'll continue to build on this season. Next season, I think it'll be even better.
Absolutely. The next individual I want to focus on is Brennan Johnson. I banged the drum about wanting him. I'm now banging the drum about getting him. Let's say getting him in the team, but stopping the kind of the hate and honestly criticism he gets. I've got a stat here. Brennan Johnson got more Premier League assists this season than the following players listed: Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Bruno Fernandes, Pedro Neto, Jeremy Doku, Phil Foden, Kai Havertz, Alexander Arnold, Bernardo Silva, and only 2 players have more recorded assists so far this season. Justin, does he deserve more respect?
Oh, I think it's difficult because my being brutally honest, he does. But I think he's in a difficult situation because I think the problem is people have seen Harry Kane go and the club haven't replaced him. Okay. And what they've done, and I think that the idea I can see is the fact that you sort of looked at it, and I can understand what Ange was trying to do. He was trying to bring in versatile players who could, play multiple positions. And I think we're at a point now where he's looked at that and thought, no, I need set positions, because as what he is seeing, that the likes of Son isn't as comfortable down the middle. Richarlison struggles on the wings. Johnson can't do down the middle himself. So I think we would have seen more from him had we had an out and out consistent number 9. And for all it's worth, no disrespect to Son. I mean, yes, his stats have been really good, but he isn't a striker. He is better on the left. The club does need to go out and personally just get this striker done quick. There are options out there that they could turn around, put a bid in for somebody. I mean, we'll probably get onto it, but some players out there, get that done, get that position, because I feel that, and I understand where they're talking about that there are 3 vital positions that they're looking at, which is, a striker, a number 6, and a fullback, probably on the left side or the right side, depending on where they look at from there. But to me, I feel that these 3, if these are the serious ones, then ultimately we need to get on with it, and get them in and not drag this out. To be fair, last year we didn't, but we did leave Johnson till pretty much deadline day. We need to get that done a lot quicker.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And Wheelsy, I'll come to you because I want to get your thoughts on this. And again, he has, Brennan Johnson, more assists than any other Arsenal player. We've got some big names in there mentioned as well. Phil Foden, what season he's having. So, Wheelsy, for you, does he deserve more respect? And do you agree with Justin in terms of his numbers would be a lot better, and you'd get a lot more respect from Spurs fans generally if we did have a proper number 9?
See, when you was reading their names out, I was really shocked. I was expecting Odegaard to have loads of assists, Saka, Foden. But I've seen a lot of stick online of people like slating Brennan Johnson, and I do think he's a great player for us. I know the circumstances are a bit different. Like it's been mentioned, we don't have a proper number 9. He doesn't get the ball all of the time, and I do think he can change the space for us. I think he's a good player. We should give him time. We should definitely use him a lot more next season, and I think he can properly grow in the starting 11.
Absolutely, I completely agree with it. Billy, do you agree with what's been said about Brennan Johnson in terms of he's not as bad as some people make out? The statistics are there, clear to see, but a number 9 will really help him.
Yeah, I think so. He's got the profile of a perfect end winger. He does exactly what Ange wants the winger to do, which is get to the byline and cut back for the striker. He's done that loads of times this season, 10 times obviously. But most of his assists will be very similar. If you watch all of them on compilation, they'll be very, very similar. because he just fits the system really well, which is why I think Andrew wanted him in summer. He knows what he wants, and Brendan Johnson's it. I think he's only going to get better. I think 10 assists in his debut season is good for any player. Certainly good for a young player in his second season in the Premier League. So yeah, I think we're just going to go up from here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in full agreement. I'm going to go around the whole panel now because I want to know who your player of the match is for the Sheffield United game. Justin, I'll start with you, actually. If you had to identify one person, Kulusevski will be a name that I expect to hear 2 goals, but have we got anyone different?
I think, to be fair, it's a tough one because I think you could sit there and give a case for a fair few people. I think Porro played well. I think we could give credit again to Van der Ven, Dragoshin for playing in a position that potentially isn't as suitable because he normally plays on the right rather than the left. But he has sort of seemed to settle nicely into that. I don't think Maddison had too bad a game either. I think you would probably though have to base it on the 2 goals and give it to Kulusevski. But I feel that if somebody else said another name, I don't think you could turn around and argue because a lot of them really did step up and played pretty well. But if I had to pick somebody out, it would be Kulusevski.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fairly popular one. Travis, you come back on. Good timing. Who'd be your player of the match?
Who would be my player of the match? Pedro Porro. Yeah, I thought again, he had another very good game. Obviously scored an absolute worldie. And I think he could be a player to watch next year. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think obviously he's good now, but I think he's going to be exceptional next year.
Okay. Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think that's a good shout as well because he got the goal and obviously kept a clean sheet as well. I think that's enough to go around with on its own. Wheelsy, who are you leaning towards?
So I may have gone a bit boring here, but I'm going to say Kulusevski purely for the 2 goals that he scored. Considering he hasn't been up to his best, I do think he was the player of the match. And if it wasn't Kulusevski, if I was to pick someone else, I'd have to say Dragoshin, Might be a bit of a weird pick, but if you remember, he was I saw some things on Twitter of him coaching the players how to protect Vicario on them set pieces. And I do think he made the defensive difference in yesterday's match. So I would have to give it to him if it wasn't for Kulusevski.
Okay, so if I Kulusevski, the common one, Porro also mentioned. Billy, you got anyone different, or you going with the majority on this one?
I would stick with Kulusevski, but I'm just going to be different. I'm going to go Dragoshin, just because I think the game symbolises a lot for him because he needed that going into pre-season. You look really, I know obviously you have to take into account that Sheffield United, but we look pretty solid defensively for most of the game. Look better corners. I'm just going to give it to him for sure.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Thank you very much. Next thing I want to move on to is focusing a little bit on the opposition because they've got a little stat here again. The last time all 3 Premier League promoted clubs went back down was the 1997-98 season. So, Justin, coming to you, were you surprised that all 3 went down this year? And also, what was Sheffield United's problem throughout the season? Why did they go down in the end?
Oh, blimey. Okay, well, to be fair, I think if I was to be brutally honest, I was extremely disappointed with 2 of the 3 clubs that went down because I looked at the 3 of them as a whole. I didn't think all 3 would go back down. I thought that Luton would go down. But what really disappointed me with Burnley and Sheffield United was how ignorant they were coming into it. So when you look at, and to an extent, I will include Luton, but it's more Sheffield United and Burnley. And the reason that I say that is because anybody knows when you are going from the Championship to the Premier League, that is a massive step up, right? You don't get as much time on the ball. You've got to be more compact. You've got to be quicker, faster, with everything you do across that pitch. But you've also got to be smarter, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. And if you look at Sheffield United, okay, before the ball had even been kicked, they sold their 2 best players. Now, you can kind of get away with that if you're an already established Premier League team. But when they'd sold Njai to Marseille for 20 million quid, which, not being funny, is peanuts in terms of Premier League money from what they'd already been given, and then they'd sold Sanderberg to Burnley, right? So they've sold a player to a rival. That, to me, I just felt, you're on a hiding to nothing. You've basically
And let's make no mistake about it. Burnley have been bad, but Sander Berger has been very good. His passing's very good.
Yeah.
Offered a lot of
And
protection.
this is exactly it. And when you're turning around and you're doing that, and then even in January, they went and brought in Mason Holgate, who had been released from a championship club. I think it was Middlesbrough, right? It just smacks of a club that were only interested in coming in, finishing bottom, taking that £100 million and then coming back up again. That to me was all that was set out to achieve, in terms of Burnley. In terms of Sheffield United, I felt, they were an embarrassment to the league. I just felt that, and they did have some good players. They brought in Brereton Diaz, who I thought was quite good. They brought in Gustavo Hamer from Coventry, and those two I thought had done well. The rest, though, were just bang average championship players who were told to come up and have a go. And ultimately, I think were an embarrassment. And you could see from Paul Heckingbottom when he was just waiting to be sacked, he just knew that you've tied my hands behind my back. So I'm not going to quit. I'm going to wait for you to sack me and I'll get a payoff. And then to bring in a guy who had, and this summed up everything with Sheffield United. They brought in a guy who had been sacked by Middlesbrough, sacked by Watford, so pretty much sacked by multiple championship clubs. And they brought him in because of nostalgia. To me, I looked at that and I just felt that is the definition of just pure ignorance in terms of what the Premier League was about. I think the only thing
Chris Wilder had been sacked by Sheffield United. Did a good job with them. Yeah, don't get me the Premier League, but was still sacked by them in the end.
He was, the only reason I didn't include Sheffield United was because he technically got them up with them and then kept them up for a year. But in terms of the others, they weren't anywhere close. So I sort of looked at that and I just felt the Sheffield United, the only teams I think would be more annoyed with Sheffield United are Sunderland and Derby, because I think they got enough points to score more than they did, but Lord knows how. And I'll be honest, coming on to Burnley and reading the reports today that Vincent Kompany is now being linked with the Bayern Munich job, that guy has trodden in something, because the fact of it being is, if I was him, I'd move heaven and earth to get that job. I'd drop Burnley like a brick, because the fact of it being is, if Bayern Munich are going to take him after the pure ignorance of because I get what he was trying to do. He had a philosophy, and people are critical of Ange for that, because it's a case of, this is the way I want to play, and I'm not going to change my philosophy, although I think in some aspects he has. But when you've got a group of players, and you look at some of the signings that they were making from Belgian leagues and wherever else they were coming from, that had no Premier League experience and were not set up in any other way bar to play the way that Vincent Kompany does, it's all well and good doing that in the Championship, but it doesn't work. And I think there was a stat that there was about 13 or so mistakes that had actually led to goals, right? That is criminal. That is absolutely criminal. That is somebody who has got for somebody who's been in the league for so long, had no understanding of how to stay in it as a manager, because he just tried it with a bunch of players from foreign leagues with no real Premier League experience, and then wondered why, he got his backside handed to him on a regular basis, when actually, if he'd have been a bit more compact in certain games and maybe just seen them out, that they had a chance to stay up, but
It's like they were
know-
1-0 up against us, Justin. But
Yeah.
they went back to the way they played. They came here, they came to us and sat back. They got their goal from that, then went back to playing out for the back. And I don't know how the keeper Murridge got man of the match, because I was there 7 or 8 times. He gave the ball away in what I'd call a dangerous position, if not in our box, just outside the box. We just couldn't take it. We weren't very good on the day.
It was. I mean, it summed it all up with the goal he gave away against Brighton when he literally put his foot on an imaginary ball.
His season up, Burnley season up, absolutely.
Yeah. And to me, as I said, I felt those two were the biggest disappointments. The only thing I would say with Luton was I got what they were trying to achieve, which was to stay up with a budget. And
at least they showed fight.
Yeah, and they brought in Ross Barkley and Andros Townsend, Premier League experience. I think the only naivety was the fact that they didn't bring in any Premier League experience at the back. It was Championship players at the back. And I think when you, saw that, Johnny Evans was available or people like that were available, and you could have had them there just as an experienced head to sort of calm nerves and things like that. I just felt, you stretch yourself far. But I think if you want to pick out one of the most damning indictments of those 3 teams, is that all 3 went down, even though Nottingham Forest and Everton had those point deductions. And it was more, and I thought the biggest embarrassment was Everton turned around and went, actually take the 2 points. We don't need the 2 points. We're safe anyway. These lot aren't catching us. That I felt was the biggest tragedy of it all, was the fact that these 3 teams came up and only one of them really gave it a go. That I felt was disappointing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Billy, as well, what do you make of that stat I provided there and Sheffield United? In the game, could you see why, the position they're in?
Yeah, they're awful, absolutely awful football inside. They would not be missed by any stretch of the imagination. I hope they don't come back up next year, because it's boring. Such a boring. I find everything about them boring, really. I think all 3 Premier. I think, with the exception of Luton, I would have, have to get rid of Burnley and Sheffield United. And I think it'll be interesting. Well, obviously Leicester will come back up. I think it'll be interesting to see Ipswich, a different team that we haven't seen for a long time. So I'm much more looking forward to that than how these boring teams that seem to come up and go down every season, like your Norwich.
Exactly. But
something different.
It's all like Ipswich's example, and I think Leicester as well. Whether they will go down or not, whether they, I don't know, try to finish top half, mid-table, I don't know, wherever they're finished, they will show fight, they show passion, they get behind it. And Sheffield United fans have been for a lot this season. I respect that, and they've done well to have that many people against Tottenham, for example. At the game, considering they were done and how bad they've been, get walloped at home. But the atmosphere at the very start, it weren't very good compared to when they were last in the Premier League. Their first home game, I watched it on TV, and it's very, very quiet. I had to check that it wasn't Arsenal playing or Chelsea at home or United at home, and it wasn't the case for any of them. Apologies to any of those fans, quite a few there. But that's honestly how I felt. We will move on, because I want to move on. Eventually, want to get to people's questions and the final FPL updates. So do stay tuned to that if you think you've done well, or if you didn't, find out where you placed. But I do want to talk about Europe, the new format. So, Wheelsy, I'll come to you. How happy are you to be back in Europe? And what are your thoughts on the new format? Because, it doesn't just cover the Champions League. It's also in the Europa League and UEFA Conference League.
Obviously, it's good to be back in Europe. Like you said, it's going to be refreshing for us, especially with the new format. I do like the league phase. I have nothing against it. I've seen a lot of people stick against it online. I don't have anything against it. It's going to be a breath of fresh air for us. And I do think we have potential of getting somewhere in that tournament. But however far we go, who knows? We'll find out next season. But I do think we have potential in getting at least to the round of 16, I'd say.
Yeah? I hope so. If not further, I'd like to go a lot further. But at least, we don't want to see us knocked out in the group. And had some crazy games, haven't we, across Europe? Your Dinamo Zagreb, your NS Mura. I think it's a mix of Conference League and Europa League in there. So really bad nights. But ultimately Antwerp as well in there, a little bit bigger than your Dinamo Zagreb, half-time builders, if you like, during the week. But hopefully back in Europe we take it seriously, we can get somewhere. But Travis, are you happy to be back in Europe? 5th place, it is Europa League, and do we have a chance, just a chance, of doing well in it?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be back in Europa League, back in Europe. Obviously, it's a competition you could potentially win. It's an income. Now, this is what annoys me. Daniel Levy will see it as an income. That's it. I I thought Conte was going to get back in from Daniel Levy. I thought Mourinho was going to get back in. The list is endless, and I think if we're going to compete, I know it's one drop down from the Champions League, but you still need to take these competitions serious. And I think, do I think we've got the squad to compete in Europe at the moment? Maybe, but I think we need to have a serious transfer window. But I feel like a broken record when I'm saying that, because I know we've had a decent transfer window, obviously with Van der Ven coming through, James Maddison, etc. But I don't think we're nowhere near where we need to be as a club with what players we have on the pitch and what type of football we play. But obviously, Andrew will change that. Obviously, I think he's been absolutely magnificent in his first season. I think it's going to be different next year as well. But I think it doesn't. There's still good teams in the Europa League. They're in that league for in that competition for a reason. But yeah, I'd love to see us, as much as any Tottenham fan, see us win a cup. But Tottenham are so hit and miss. We either turn up or we don't. We are such a frustrating team to watch. For the first 90 minutes. But yeah, I don't know. I think we've done well to finish fifth. Obviously, with Harry Kane leaving, I would have taken fifth at the start of the season. But as far as the Europa League goes, I think we need to. There's still a lot we need to buy. Need to turf out if we're going to seriously compete for this competition and potentially win it, because I think we could win it, and we need to win it. We haven't had any silverware since 2000 was it 2006? Was it the Carabao Cup?
2008, yeah.
2008. And our track record with winning silverware is just absolutely it's non-existent. So, and it's all well and good Levy looking at it as an income. Every club wants an income, but you also need silverware that you need to compete for.
Yeah, it's how you learn from mistakes last time in the competition and got lost to little oppositions that are discussed there, and it's about how you grow and expand. So I completely agree with you, and I think that for me, with the prospect of Europa League, it's more about adding that squad depth more than anything. And I'm not talking about your average kind of players, but it's offering, Justin's already mentioned it, that quality backup for a Doggy, quality backup for Porro, needs be to step in. I think we have that in Dragusin, which is very good. But if we're going to strengthen, if you said to me, Harry, where if you could choose one position to strengthen, anywhere in the team, it would be somewhere in that attack. It'd either be a winger or it would be a striker. I could absolutely live with our midfield. I'd love a new number 6, but I think the midfield is good enough to pull through. We have a lot of options in there. Defence very, very solid, including the goalkeeper. Just hasn't quite gelled yet as a defensive unit. I think that's down to the number 6. But I think we need to improve.
What annoys me, H, is sorry, I just need to say we have got one. We have got one of the best defences in that league, and I'm not saying that on a biased level because I'm a Tottenham fan. We generally have. And you look at that defence on paper, we have got one of the best defences in that league. And other people say to me, "Oh, Ben White's better than Pedro Porro," and things like that. And you think, but it's not. They're not. Their team is better in a different way. But our defence is absolutely solid.
Yeah. No, I think it is. I completely agree with that. So next, I'm going to go around the panel, and so I'll let you think about this first, and that is rating Ange Postecoglou's first season out of 10. So I just want a number. I don't want why. So everyone be thinking, and I'm going to go around the panel in no particular order. So it is harsh if you are picked first. And Wheelsy, I'm going to come to you first. What would you rate Ange Postecoglou's first season out of 10?
I'd give it an 8 out of 10, in my opinion.
So would I. Well, I like that one. Thank you very much. Justin?
7.
7 out of 10. No, I think that's still reasonable. Billy?
7.5 out of 10.
Okay, like it. Love the precision. Travis?
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Okay. I like that. Yeah, so all reasonable. We haven't had any silly 3s and 4s, but we also haven't had a 10 out of 10, which I also think would be unrealistic. Barney goes 7 out of 10. I think so, and I think that for me it'd be somewhere between a 7 or 8. Yeah, we got knocked out in both cups early, but overall we got back in Europe. We've improved. Played some good football. We would have, majority of us would have taken it at the start of the year. Absolutely for sure.
Right.
Quick,
Can I just say?
go for it.
Sorry, mate. It depends what you're rating, though. There's so much to rate within that club.
It's hard, yeah. It's a very hard question. It's more rating Ange and the job that he's done. But I suppose it is a reflection on the Spurs. It's based on the team, really. So it kind of reflects in what would you rate our season out of 10. So, got eights and 7s, in the chat. Barney says the cup exit knocks it down a number for me. Otherwise, it would have been an 8. And I think that's totally reasonable. But next, I'm going to give an FPL update. So the final stand-ins in the podcast league. So I'm going to read out the majority of this. So winning the league is Sean Holder. It was tight going into the final day, but 74 points. Yeah, that's really impressive on the final game week. So Sean Holder, you are the podcast winner in the FPL league. So thank you very much. So congratulations to Sean Holder. Runner up is Mickey Race in second. You've got Rob Perry in third. Will Savage in fourth, and Mark Sweeney in fifth. That is your top 5. Then we've got Tommy C in sixth, Liam McCoy in seventh, Alfred in eighth, Lewis Godfrey in ninth. We've got 10th, we've got AK. 11th, we've got Andrew. 12th, Luca Fagna, who I've seen in the chat already, big up. 13th, Matthew. 14th, Tom Carr. Got 15th, Solomon. 16th, Daniel. 17th, Dave for the podcast, big up. 18th, we've got Tom Davis. 19th, we've got David Thompson. 20th, we've got Sam. 21st, we've got Football Forecaster. 22nd, we've got Omer Yaron. 23rd, we've got Richard Nurse. 24th, we've got Danny Loader. 25th, we've got Elliot. 26th, we've got Victor. 27th, we've got Kai Gott. 28th, Robin Mumford. 28th, Kaya. 30th, we've got Carl. 31st, we've got Connor Longlease. 32nd, Ted McQuaid, who was up right at the top at one point, but still a very solid finish. 33rd, we've got Stephen Horn. 34th, Justin, big up, you're there. That's quite an impressive finish, a lot higher than I am. 35th, we've got Freddie Nurse. 36th, Paul Blackman. 37th, Paddy O'Brien. 38th, Andrew Davis. 39th, Demi Buffet. Got 40th, Alfie Springle. 41st, Dave Reggett. 42nd, George Wenya. 43rd, Luke Charlton. 44th, Thomas Smith. 45th, Robin Doyle. 46th, Tifu. 27th, Stephen. 28th, Michael. 29th, Orin. And 50th, Charlie. That is your top 10 in the podcast league. There's a lot of you. There's nearly 150, so I'm not going through it all, but that is your top 50. So big up if you heard your name in there. If not, where were you? Let me know in the comments below. Barney, near at the bottom, so let me know where. Don't want to rub it in, but let me know where you did finish. I want to end with questions that people ask for the podcast, and what I will say before we get to that is the shows will continue throughout the summer, because a lot of people are going, is it your last show today? They will continue throughout the summer. There's no break whatsoever. We'll be going every single Monday throughout the summer. One of the only shows to do that, so do stay tuned. But we will move on to people's questions. And Billy, I'm going to start with you. First question is from Barney, who says, firstly, what has been your best moment of the season and your worst moment?
I think the worst moment is probably going 3-0 down to Arsenal. Can never hack that. It's awful to see that your rivals do that in your own stadium. That's awful. Best moment is probably beating Liverpool for the first time in years and doing it in the last, in the way that we did. That's probably my 2 highlights of the season and low light of the season.
Yeah, thank you. For me, in terms of, I really enjoyed my day at Craven Cottage in my first away day, and being the press box, the program, etc. But the actual game itself, going 3-0 down so quickly, and I spoke to Fulham fans before, etc. And to give a bit of context before it, when we got knocked out the second round of the League Cup, the day after I had a tour around Fulham in the sensory room with Barney, and I thought, this is great, I'm gonna be able to rub it in. We got knocked out. So I thought, second time, surely, this is going to be perfect to get people back. And we got not only beaten, but thumped 3-0. We came into that, very strong, the top 4 positions. That's my worst moment for sure, absolutely. But we'll see. The next question, again from Barney, is your player of the season?
There's a lot of contenders, I think. Obviously, Ange came in, changed a lot of the dynamic around the club. The new players that came in, they just gelled right in like they've always been there. But I'd say player of the season has to be either Christian Romero, Mickey van der Ven. I know the defensive stats don't really back that up a lot, but I think individually they have been very solid for us.
Yeah.
And we would have been probably like mid-table without either of them. So those are my players for this season.
I think they're very good shouts. I don't think, I put it mainly to be honest with the midfield and more the way we play that we conceded so many goals, more than the personnel. They've both been very, very strong. So I'm absolutely with you on that. Travis, again, sticking with Barney, who says, most improved player this season. You mentioned Porro a lot. I expect you to say Porro, but have you got anyone different? Am I wrong?
Yeah, thanks for your question, Barney. Hope you're enjoying your holiday, by the way. Yeah, I'm going to go with Pedro Porro. Yeah, he's really stuck out for me this season. Obviously, as I said earlier, when he first come to Spurs, I was a bit, umming and ahhing about him, but I think he's really come on well, and I think he wants to play for the club. We can't say there's been many players playing for Spurs throughout the years that really want to be at the club, want to play for the club, but he really wants to be at Tottenham, and his passion shows it. So yeah, Pedro Porro for me.
Pedro Porro for you. No, I think that's a very good shout. I think overall it's a very valid one. Justin Barney says, what are your expectations for next season? Do you have like a minimum requirement for Ange?
What for next season?
For next season, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
I to be honest, if he's going to get this backing that he's talking about, I think we need a really long run in a cup. I think we need to. I think we need to be aiming to win one. I think when you look at, I look back through the competition that was in Europe, and if you take Leverkusen out of like the Europa League, I think there's a lot of opportunity for Tottenham to go after, especially in that competition. I think if we're going to go as big as we should be going, I think top four should be a reasonable shout. So to me, if I was being realistic, I think we should be aiming top four in a trophy.
Yeah, I'd say top four minimum requirement, and we should be competing in the latter stages for a trophy. So I think that's totally reasonable. I think it'd be a lot to ask in the first season, but in the second season, 4 transfer windows. I think that is absolutely reasonable. Well, in my opinion, anyway. If you disagree, guys, in the comments below, do let us know. But also, Barney, thank you very much for your question. I know you put quite a few, so thank you for all your questions. Quite a big paragraph, so do appreciate that. Barney says, what would you like to see in the summer transfer window? So I will answer this one. I think that, as I said, depth is very, very important. In terms of positions, I think number 9 has to be a priority. No, to be number 9, number 6, and bringing in at least one winger and just adding that depth in key positions, to be honest with you, I think this is really important. I could easily put 6 or 7 players, but it does really depend on who goes out the door. There'll be a lot, in context, there'll be 8 or 9 players that I'd be looking to shift. And I worked out the other day, bringing about 100, 150 million if we're on the lucky side. So that will add to hopefully the funds that have already been put towards, the transfer window. You never know with Spurs. So, I think the overall number 9 is very important. I look at someone like Isak would be nice realistically, but I think Mateta, although he's obviously price would have gone up, since Glasner's come in the club, will be slightly more realistic of someone of that caliber that kind of, we wouldn't have said 6 months ago, kind of player that can be improved on. So I think that Mateta rings a bell to me. I think that we should go all out, and I said this on Potlane podcast yesterday, go all out to Crystal Palace for Eze, Elise, Mateta. There's a lot of players, Gay, Anderson. If we're looking for a full, strong centre, there'll be a lot of players in there that will easily take half the Palace team, and that is even before Glasner came in. So I think that we need to be all over that. A bit like the Brighton-Chelsea connection they had. I think we need to kind of create that with Palace. Making sure we get Palace players and we give them the money so they can grow under Glasner and once Glasner leaves. Next question I'll put to you, Billy, from Basse, regular listener, who says, I have asked this question before, but it's more relevant than ever. Is Gallagher what we need? And is he, let's say we sign Gallagher, he says, for you, would it be starting 11 or the bench?
I think it's a really difficult question because I think Ange really wants him, and I'm obviously always of the view that you should back your manager. I personally am not blown away by him as a signing, but I seem to really want his profile, and we have to back our manager. There's so many times over the last few years of saying, as you guys were saying, we have not backed the manager, and if that's the man that Ange wants, we've got to do it. But It's not something that particularly excites me, and also I don't like the idea of helping Chelsea out of their financial problems. Don't think, as their biggest rivals, we shouldn't be doing that. We should help them get in the mud as much as possible. So I think it's a really difficult transfer, and I think Ange changed the midfield an awful lot over the season. We had the first 10 games where we played Maddison, Sarr, and Bissouma every game, but then after that, it really descended into sort of changing, dropping every game. So I don't think there's such thing as an Ange star. I think he will play a few games and come in and out the side as like Sarr and Benton could have done all season. So yeah, I think it's a really difficult transfer. I don't really know where I stand on it at all, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I don't know either. Because it depends on the price. I don't like the idea, as you say, with Chelsea, helping them out FFP. However, the player, forget the price, part the price. I think the player, will be very beneficial for competition, and don't necessarily think he'd be starting 11, but definitely competition for places with the thought of Europe. But I think he is Chelsea through and through. I can't quite get my head around that, but maybe it's just me. Justin, Ray says, which player do you expect is going to improve by the greatest amount next season? I think that's a very good question.
I would say, based on what we've seen so far, and I think if the signings are made that complement it, I'm actually going Brendan Johnson, because I think when we look at some of the other players, they are already at a high level. And I think when we look at, if you were to be critical of Johnson, it's his finishing. He has scored, but I think there's been certain times he could score more goals. You add that into those stats. Let's say he gets 10 goals and 10 assists. That's an amazing season. That puts him in a higher echelons. And when you consider as well, he's got no football after Wednesday. So once that game's done against Newcastle, that's it. He's got the summer off. He can take his time and can work with him, get him in right shape. If he then gets a striker to help complement him, or even if he brings in Morgan Gibbs-White, because that's a player I would like to sign, that is only going to benefit Johnson. So to me, I think for what we've seen so far, I think he will get better.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that. And Wheelsy, I'll give you the last question. Lee says, as for questions, how much do you think we're spending a transfer window, and will we take Europe seriously?
I mean, that question is completely down to Levy. We don't know what he's about, how much he's willing to spend, but it's a hard one because we just don't know what's going to happen. And I do think we should take Europe very seriously, as I do think we have the caliber to do it. Obviously, if we do bring some players in the summer, great. It adds to our depth and it gives us more of a chance to play in those competitions the way we should. And yeah, about the money situation, I have no idea because Levy is very fluctuating with his money. So time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Time will tell. But I think that wraps us up nicely for today's show. So thank you, everyone, for all their questions. Thank you, everyone's listening live on YouTube. Everyone after on Spotify and Amazon Music. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so. We instantly move on to the next milestone, and that is 2,500 subscribers. Can we do it before a ball is kicked next season? Just to put it out there already, that's the next target. So let's go get that before we get to first week or two in August. If you're listening, podcast platform, wherever, or however that may be, do smash that follow button and a 5-star review. Pause the episode. I know we're nearly finished, but still pause it. Head over to YouTube, search Scarfy Spurs Talk, and do smash the subscribe button. Even if you don't watch the content, it still helps the channel's content grow and improve. So thank you for your questions. Obviously, you made it special throughout the season. It's been a very good season, me personally, for the channel. And so many amazing guests on, sitting with loads already now. 4 of them to be exact. So it has been an absolute honour for myself. The shows will continue. For the panel itself, thank you very much, guys. Starting with Billy, where can people find you?
Yeah, just Billie T on Twitter, and hopefully you come back on next year, man, because it's been a pleasure to join you this season. And I've really enjoyed it. So thank you very much for having me, as always.
It'd be great, absolutely great to have you on. And I think what's great in talking to 4 of you is all 4 of you, I would say, are regulars on the show now, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's an honour to have you part of the channel. So thank you very much, Billy. That's where you can find Billy. Wheelsy, second time on, very, very keen, just to put it out here already, to get you on next season. If you are interested, the contract's there ready for you to sign. Where can people find you?
People can find me on Wheelsy THFC on both Twitter and TikTok. And again, thank you, Harry, for having me on twice this season. I'm pretty sure there'll be many more to come. And thank you guys for all of your takes. You know, you've been very good co-guests, and I'm looking forward to many more shows with you guys. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Wheelsy does some excellent donuts as well, which I'm sure you can tell us about, Wheelsy. Where in particular can people find them? Can they find them on all your socials?
Well, yeah, you can find it on TikTok, you can find it on Twitter, on the high road, in the stadium, anywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one good thing I do look forward to. Even if Spurs lose, I go back, look at Wheelsy's donuts, and that could bring a smile. I think it changed a lot of people's days. So thank you very much for your amazing content and what you do. Travis, it's been a long time. No Eric Dyer mentioned. I've nearly forgotten him, which is literally impossible. You can't go another show without mentioning it. But where can people find you? Obviously, you will be a regular again on the show next season, and you obviously are at the moment as well. But where can people find you for people who don't know?
Yeah, I just want to say, obviously, thank you for letting me on the show again, Harry. It's been an absolute honour and pleasure being a regular on your show. I've really, really enjoyed meeting some absolutely fantastic people, obviously, tonight as well. The work you do for these podcasts is just unbelievable. And the work you do, as I said before, if you know our diversity and autism, is just absolutely exceptional, alongside with your good friend Barney. So well done again, and keep up the good work, both of you. You can find me on Twitter at officialcaster. Normally arguing with Arsenal fans and West Ham fans. That's not what my weekend consists of. I am on LinkedIn as well. If anyone's on LinkedIn, I'm a big fan of it. So yeah, hit me up on there. I do obviously do a lot on mental health awareness as well. There's a lot of mental health awareness stuff on my LinkedIn page that I do alongside with work as well. So yeah, been absolutely brilliant this season, and looking forward to being back on next season.
No, absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words as well. But that's where you can find Travis. Justin, obviously, hopefully find you on here a lot next season. But where else can people find you?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I want to start by saying thank you for giving us the opportunity to be on here. Meeting great guests as we've got and as we've had throughout. And to be fair, I know that we've sort of hooked up a few more shows leading up to next season, which I'm really looking forward to. But if it's not here, maybe Spurs Kings TV or on Twitter, generally, as I said, not so much like Travis arguing with Arsenal fans. I'm more sort of balanced with it. But, if there was an Arsenal fan to give me grief, maybe I might start thinking about Stop Crying Arteta. Who knows? But yeah, thank you so much, Amazon. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you very much, and thank you all listening and watching wherever that and however that may be for your support in the 2023-24 season. This is the last show related to it. As I said, it will continue. The content will continue. Got a lot of England, Tottenham content planned in the summer, so do stay tuned. It's been an honour. Thank you all to guests as well. Because what makes this podcast very special is the people listening, the people contributing, asking their questions, and the comments in the chat, listening after. Also, the fantastic guests that I've got on. Again, sitting with four of them now. It is an absolute honour. But to end the season off on a high note, time for a bit of Postecoglou, baby. Get behind him. Come on, you Spurs.
Working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. And Postecoglou, you know that we believe it when you say you're gonna change it. And Postecoglou, we're the mighty Tottenham and nobody's gonna stop them. Oh, we look so fine in blue and lily white. And then he said to me, I'm from a land down under. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh, Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh.